It's one of your top stories this hour. Welcome back. The Auditor-General releasing audit outcomes for municipalities, revealing that only 34 have received clean audits. Let's bring in local government manager at the Organisation Undoing Tax Abuse, Julius Kleynhans. Thanks very much indeed for coming onto the program. 34 out of 257 municipalities. I did the calculation earlier. It's just over 13%. And what a coup for the Western Cape, 20 of them in that province.
Yeah, it's very concerning for the rest of the country, especially people paying rates and taxes. The poor performance we're looking at are people who get proper wages, and I think it's really alarming. If you look at the lack of professional capacity within our municipalities, and the mere fact that things are deteriorating, I think they're talking about an increase in fruitless and wasteful expenditure of about 3 billion rand. So the root cause of the problem here is definitely a lack of consequence management. And unfortunately, this doesn't happen overnight. We've got political oversight, provincial and national government that need to account as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to stay in the Western Cape for just a moment, because Cape Town is also the only metro to receive a clean audit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think kudos to the governance there. You can see that specific disciplines are intact. The AG emphasized that they are doing the basics right. And even though they have their challenges, it is about professional public service, transparency, and sustainable financial management. The Auditor-General has also indicated a concern about most municipalities not being able to even submit accurate and proper financial statements. So yes, they are definitely getting a lot of things right in the Western Cape, and I think the rest of the country can learn from that.
What other provinces stand out for you for all the wrong reasons? I know that the Auditor-General particularly pointed out the Free State and the Northwest for the number of disclaimer audit opinions. She says there's a tendency in those provinces also, as you say, not to submit financial statements.
Yeah, look, I think the big issue there, actually in the whole country, is the lack of consequence management, really. We've seen different political maneuvers, I suppose, within those two provinces over the last years. Some of those implicated even in state capture. So if you don't have proper political will to act, and all those officials who are supposed to provide basic service to account, then you won't see a difference. I think there's some other issues that people overlook. You do get to smaller municipalities where it's difficult to retain good talent because people want to move to bigger salaries and spaces. But I think in general, if you do what's wrong and nothing is being dealt with, or you're not held to account, the status quo will continue. And that's what we're seeing in these municipalities. And unfortunately, these are also two provinces that you've highlighted where the biggest needs are amongst communities to free basic services.
Absolutely. The AG also highlighting, as you say, that municipalities seem to struggle to spend their grants from national government within the stipulated time. I actually want to stay in the Free State for just a moment, because in Msunduzi, this is in KZN, unspent infrastructure grants worth almost 3.5 billion rand, project delays, cost overruns, poor quality construction work, and then the project's not even put into use once it's supposedly completed. It's baffling, right? Because the money is obviously there, but it's being sent back to Treasury.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think this is where we're finding ourselves in South Africa at the moment, where the political, or let's say irresponsible politics, have been taking place for quite a long time, and it's become a systemic issue. We've seen that the Auditor-General has been putting in new measures, so that it's a bit more difficult to loot and just to spend money that's not been properly accounted for. So we see that some of the red tape, they want to call it, hinders municipalities from spending the money. Unfortunately, that goes back to Treasury, and the people who are in grave need of those access to basic service and infrastructure suffer the consequences. You've emphasized now Msunduzi as an example. People have been struggling there with water issues and really basic service for quite some time. That's completely irresponsible, and we cannot see that under our watch. However, the one thing that comes out of this report from the AG is that the cost of service are erratic. We're not getting our bang for buck. I think with the supply chain and all these other elements of, let's say, entrepreneurship, we are paying for services, if you get them, quite at a premium. There's very little competition in any municipality. So whoever's in charge has the ability to manipulate these functions and build infrastructure. I think one thing that we do see, I think that's not highlighted in the AG's report, is in certain municipalities where things are starting to turn around, it looks like they've started focusing a lot on professionalizing the project management ability. Now, that's very important because the AG said that what we see is irregular procurement, but also then, funds and budgets that's not spent on time or actually overrunning the budget, and the projects are not finished on time, and some of these projects are delayed to such an extent that people just don't get access to their services. And I think that's quite a strong focus. If you get proper project design, these things executed on time with proper project management and transparency, hopefully we'll see more projects coming to the fore. And I think that also has touches on the fact that grants, it's not spent. One of the reasons for that is that there's no proper projects in place, and they're not running it properly.
Yeah, I've got the AG's report here in front of me, and one of the things, it's on page 12, where the AG talks about the fact that basic controls are not in place at local government level. They're either not in place at all or they're ineffective. Reviewing compliance, in-year and year-end reporting, daily and monthly controls, proper record keeping, just sort of the basics of running a small business, one might say, not in place at local government level.
Absolutely, and that is what's really alarming. A municipality should be run like a business. Let's say a non-profit business, and sadly, that's not the case. So we see the debtors increasing, and I just need to again bring the political side of things in, because we've seen in the AG report, the AG talking about 42% of municipalities passing unfunded budgets. Now, that's basically budgets that's being passed in council to allocate funds toward service delivery on new projects, but they don't have the revenue to fulfill those objectives. And that is actually illegal. And I think from the political space down to administration, we see that it's a bit of the wild, wild west out there. A lot of irregularities and also illegal conduct that's taking place. But yes, we are yet to see one person going to jail or being held to account for that.
Yeah.
The AG also, that the consequences of the state of our municipalities has also resulted in another 21.12 billion rand in unauthorized expenditure.
Yeah.
This is money
These
that
numbers
we just
make your head spin. That's a lot of zeros. Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of a lot of zeros, on page 13 of the AG's report, there's also this issue of the cost of financial reporting consultants in the province. Do you know any more about this? Why are we employing financial reporting consultants? Do we not have that ability in-house in these departments? And the irony around these costs is that the provinces that perhaps struggle the most with basic service delivery, the likes of KwaZulu-Natal, has the highest spend on financial reporting consultants in the country.
Yeah, what makes it worse is the AG even questions the accuracy and ability of some of the consultants employed. But look, that just speaks to how unprofessional local governments become. And you can see that, we can feel it. If, as a private consumer, if you have some kind of service and you're not happy with the service, you go to someone else who can give it to you. In a municipality, you unfortunately don't have that luxury. So it's a bit of a monopoly. But the lack of proper oversight and consequence management and the professionalization, I suppose, of local government has resulted in this. And, you know, it has catastrophic consequences. In fact, you know, municipalities are not a place that, it's not just a place of local government. It is where we go to work, where we live, where our kids go to school. So if the basics and the foundation of a municipality is not intact, the economy cannot grow. That's how severe and important this issue is. And for as long as there's no consequence management, proper leadership, and professional people to do their jobs, we won't see a difference. Just the last comment on that. If you look at the city of Johannesburg, which has an 80 billion rand budget, and you compare the city manager to a CEO of a listed company of a similar budget, and you see who they surround themselves with, I think if you look at the talent and at that level, it is quite alarming. So we need to just review and hopefully reform local government entirely.
Yeah, and it's a